Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the MPO Policy Committee meeting, otherwise also known as the Laredo and Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Today's August the 17th, 2022, and it's 1:31, I believe, 1:31 p.m. We're here meeting at the City of Laredo Council Chambers at 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas. You can join us also at laredotx.swagit.com/forward-live, or also Spectrum TV channel 1300. A roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Vidonis will help us call roll.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Mayor Pete Sines,
Present.
Judge Tano Tijerina,
Present.
Councilmember Ruben Gutierrez, Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez, Councilmember Dr. Marte Martinez,
Here.
Commissioner John Galo, Councilmember Vanessa Perez, Mr. David Salazar,
Present.
Mr. Humberto Tito Gonzalez.
Present.
For the record, Mayor, you do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, so let's move forward. Thank you very much. Citizens' comments, if you want to sign up or come forward at this time, but being that it's kind of loose, I play it loose as well, and if you do want to speak on any one item, I would, please have the liberty to come forward, raise your hand, and we'll call you forward.
Motion to approve the minutes, Mayor, since there's no.
Okay, the meetings, the minutes of July 20th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
There's a motion seconded by Judge Tano Tijerina. Discussion, none heard, all those in favor say aye.
If we could just point of order, just a motion to excuse the people that are not here, the colleagues that are not here.
Okay, there's,
As amended, Mayor.
okay, as amended, okay, on yours, you the same? Okay, so call for the question, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, none heard, motion carries. And of course, we approve the minutes and also
Yes.
the amendment to, to excuse those persons not present. Next item is discussion of possible action on gap funding for the Vecchio Road project. And any other matters incident there too, and this I requested because there's been ongoing
So moved.
meetings and
So moved.
so moved as to what now? Oh, motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
If I may, what was the motion? Forgive me.
Well, yeah, apparently Judge wants to move on to possible action on gap funding, but we haven't identified the funding.
13 million.
Okay, okay, so,
I'm sorry, I might have just been going a little excited, but I'm about to say, I mean, when you got a $13 million, you add $13 million to get a 80, I'm gonna go so move that all day long.
yeah, but, yeah, no, that's why we can take the
You can
motion.
just go 1, 2, and then just for discussion.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to do, is 1, 2, and just for discussion.
Okay, and seconded by Dr. Marta Martinez. Discussion now.
Yeah,
We have Ruben Gutierrez now with us.
I'd like to
Councilmember.
discuss. So I know that we have this project that we've been working on. And I think what we're looking for is to allocate Category 7 funds for this project because there's a funding gap that we have to try to make up. And in exchange, I think we're hearing that there could be potential for some extra investment from TxDOT. Is that something that TxDOT is willing to speak on quickly?
What we can, Mr. Salazar, but I personally would want to hear also too from Mr. Brown, because I know you've had some communication. But either way, Mr. Salazar, do you want to?
Mr. Brown, give me 1 second.
Sure. I think the question of mine here is the upcoming UTP that granted, in essence, about $81 million of MPO Category 7 dollars, of which up to fiscal year 24 is committed to the Withdrawn Child
For the
Project.
record, yeah, hold your thought, Mr. Salazar. And now we have Jesse Gonzalez also here with us. Thank you. Commission? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what it looks like is that we have the current draft UTP that allocated currently about $81 million of Category 7 MPO dollars for the region, of which up to fiscal year 24 are committed to the Withdrawn Child Project that is estimated at $53 million to let this coming August. The request, and I hate to speak for Mr. A brown is that we allocate fiscal year, or what, we bring up two years, which is $13 million worth of categories and MPO dollars for the Viceroy roadway to fund the gap. Is that correct, Mr.?
Not entirely, but I'd like to,
Okay.
like to speak by an opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to make this clear because I too am a little confused there, so.
If I may, I don't mind funding Viceroy. In fact, I'm all in favor of it, but I want to make sure that we understand that we have multiple projects that we have to deal with at the same time. We don't have just one area of traffic that we're dealing with. I know Councilmember Perez is not here right now, but there's a river road that we've been trying to work on for quite some time that we don't have the necessary funds at all to start creating, and we have a lot of traffic on Mines Road, and although this is one project that can help, River Road is another project that can help. In addition, there's issues that we're facing on the northeast side of I-35 as well. Specifically, we have access problems coming out of some of the warehouses that are occurring, that are currently located on the northeast side of the loop. I-35 and the loop. And so I just want to make sure that we don't tie up all our monies into one project, because if we do that, I think we're just going to be kicking the can down the road on a lot of problems. So we have to be creative with how we use our funds. We can't just, we've already spent in this northwest portion, we've already spent now upwards of, I guess, $60 million of Cat 7 funds for Hachar Ruthinger. If we're going to put another $20 million into this area, and what about the rest of the city? Because we're dealing with a lot of issues, and not just 18-wheelers, we're dealing with people that live in this area in the northwest part of the town that have no access to get out. And so I think it's important that we look at multiple projects and see what works, because I do think that this River Road project is an incredibly important project for not just commercial, but also for residential traffic. And so I want to say that I am in favor of the Vallecillo project, and I'd like to invite Mr. Brown to come up to kind of explain the funding gap that we're dealing with and what TxDOT is offering from what we hear. But I wanted to put that out there because the next discussion point is exactly about another project that we have upcoming. And I know that we had already started talking about River Road and allocating Cat 7 funds for River Road as well. And so I think we have to attack all of them at the same time.
Thank you, Doctor. Before you begin, let me just say that Vanessa Perez is not with us, Councilmember Perez.
Mayor, may I
Yeah.
add something?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention that this item, right, we put on the agenda to discuss that the funding gap for Vallecillo. So I think the idea was looking at our Cat 7 dollars to see what could be funded. So I think the action that you all would want to take today is, if so, what years of funding you would want to program towards this and how much, correct? And then also, just so you all are aware, if that's your intent to program Cat 7 dollars for Vallecillo Road, then we would need to come back with the TIP amendments to be able to add them to the TIP to program that as well, just so you all are aware.
Okay, I need some clarification. I know I had a phone conversation with you, and apparently when we did meet there, well, virtually, some of us.
Mayor, I can also have a few comments to echo, or to spin off a little bit of Councilmember Marte.
Okay. Yeah, let me just ask some questions, and then you can ask yours, and then we can, because I know he raised some issues. The point I was trying to raise is that when we had that conversation there, TxDOT, apparently Mr. Williams, who's the CEO, I guess, or, Chief
Executive Director.
Executive Director of TxDOT. Yeah, he also did mention that TxDOT was very much willing and wanting to also help us with the overpass, not only the Vallecillo, but also the overpass. And that grabbed my attention right quick. And I think you had a conversation with him that solidified that, or are they
Yes, sir.
willing to commit to those funds as well?
Jed Brown, Chair of the RMA, for the record, Mayor, Judge, members of the MPO. There's obviously a lot of discussion that could happen on this. My conversations are with the governor's office. I'm an appointee of the governor. The governor happens to appoint the Texas Transportation Commissioners, who hires Mark Williams. So it's a big circle of people that communicate with one another. The ask that we have before you today is that we receive 2 years of MPO's CAT $7 after a CHAR is fully funded.
Okay, will you hold your thought when you say after a JET is fully funded? See, that raises a big question. There's overruns, usually there's always overruns, so we're willing, we would have to at least make sure that the entire JET Ruthinger is completed. And that also means, and I would ask Mr. Salazar, does that also include the overpass, the grade separation on 35 as well, and also on the Mines Road? Mr. Salazar, do you know? Because if not, I mean, that's really the entire JET Ruthinger, correct?
So the route yard child would include the overpass at that point and the road width, so keep in mind that it's the
Which overpass at what
route
point?
yard child.
Where?
35?
On 35.
And how about the Mines Road?
The Mines Road, I guess.
Aren't they gonna connect also, have some sort of an overpass?
At Mines Road, no, not at the point. At this point there, it is not funded yet. But it's at that grade crossing at Mines Road and. It's in.
But do we
at
have
grade.
something planned for that or not?
We are currently working on planning for the design and the plan work, but we have no funds for that.
Oh, okay, so that,
Does not include that overpass.
okay, so we're,
I'd like to explain my.
So Mayor, I guess, but can I answer your question, if I can, David, a little bit? So I think what the mayor's asking, because I think you recall from about 2 meetings ago, we talked about that, right? The funds we have right now were to construct an overpass at Ruthinger Char within TechSide right away. The funds we have allocated so far, which is about 53 million of CAT 7 for Char Ruthinger, that is for a divided highway, right? That is going to be, in the future, can be interstate standards, but it's going to connect at grade at 1472 and 35. What TechSide is doing is we are actually, the consultant on board, we're having them already connect or design the elevated connection for a Char Ruthinger, right, to the overpass. But that, what Mr. Sala was talking about, that part is not funded yet.
Right.
So that is where I guess you're talking about, right? The opportunity
I
to use
just
those funds,
raised
yeah.
that so we can
Yeah.
at least have one complete road.
Right.
Mayor, if I may too, keep in mind that this Ruthinger Chad is phased out work. This is gonna be 2 lanes of traffic. In the future, we'll be looking at 4 lanes divided with frontage on either side. So this is the first phase of that lane.
No, and what I'm trying to do is be aware of all these issues before we come up with
Mayor,
some sort of
and the other thing, I
conclusion.
think to Commissioner Gonzalez's point, we also have committed to having a complete and total loop all the way down. In fact, when we went out, we ranked them, those overpasses came towards the top, overpasses at Lomas del Sur, and what was the other one?
It's Lomas, Sierra Vista, and Cielito Lindo.
Yeah, but that's moving slow, right? And since you raised that issue, what's causing the holdup there, Mr. Salazar?
How much money are you needing?
Where are we at with?
Okay, well, yeah, maybe it's another agenda.
How much money are you needing for real?
I don't have a checkbook on me, but I can tell you right now that the draft UTP for this year, 2023, at Lomas del Sur overpass, which we estimated at 30 million, has put aside category 2, $23,209,000 for that Lomas del Sur project, leaving a gap of $7 million for Lomas del Sur.
Okay, keep in mind, I've got about 500,000 that I would like to apply to the sports complex. Because that's moving pretty quick, and I think we need to make sure that there's an overpass.
Yeah.
And I think Councilmember Rodriguez also has some monies available there that we can, apply for design or, any part of that complex.
You have made me aware of that, as has Mr. Brown, as far as looking at engineering for that project as well.
Okay.
If you don't mind,
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Mendiva, that $7 million that you need, I'd like to see an action item for the next agenda.
Sure.
On here, because that way this body could take in consideration of CAT $7 for that Lomas del Sur, because it's really important down there in the south. If he could
Yeah.
get 7 million, and then he could multiply that by whatever it's gonna be, that's gonna be another great opportunity
We
for
can
us
bring
to
that
do.
action item, Judge. I just want to explain, I know there's all this money of CAT $7. What we're doing, we're waiting to see a Char Ruthinger, what estimate would come out, right? And we're also developing a process of policy going forward to make sure that when we allocate these funds, that we have a process, right? So if there's an entity requesting these funds, that there's a formal process for that, because that doesn't exist. But right now, we do have projects that are prioritized where we can allocate some funds, and simultaneously, we can continue developing that process for future projects. So I just wanted to make that point. That's why we hadn't brought those action items to you guys.
So we currently are allocated through 2024?
So we have the Charter Ruthinger through 2023. In the UTP, they do funding targets for 10 years through
Okay,
2032.
but hold it, but up to 65 million.
That's what's remaining.
That's through 2032 remaining after what we have estimated for a Charter Ruthinger. So those are funding targets on the UTP, so that we can use that to program. But again, you know, if we just bring an action item, then there's that risk that we put all that money towards another project. So we wanted to give you all a complete picture to make sure, okay, what other projects we have, what are the real cost estimates,
And that's
especially with inflationary costs.
That's my concern.
And that's, the inflationary cost is also a concern. And I'm all for the ICO, believe me, if anyone wants that, it's fine, but you know, we can't have two incomplete major projects
That's why we
here.
went through, the process of ranking. That's why we went through the process of understanding what were the priorities of the policy committee, of the RMA, and so I think we just have to be systematic and use our monies in the way that we ranked our needs, right? And so I think Vallecillo came up, what, second?
Yeah,
First?
it was in the top three.
First? Something like that?
It was in the
And
top
we
three.
we have the resolution that says it's the highest priority.
It's the highest priority.
And the last rankings, the Survey Monkey rankings, I think a lot of that, seeing that South Laredo ranked so high, is because we, the RMA, also feel so strongly about it. If I had my druthers, and I don't have a vote like you all up there, I would love to see Vallecillo in line right after a char, followed by the Lomas del Sur overpass. If there's $7 million lacking, that's where I'd like to personally see it go, but I don't have a vote.
But let
I
me-
think, you know, I keep saying when you see me come before you, we're an RMA for all of Laredo.
No,
And that's the reason we have
yeah, let me
projects
just
all
add to
around
this.
town.
What's exciting to me is the fact that TxDOT, if they're willing to finance the entire overpass over there by Vallecillo, I mean, that's a huge
I think
plus.
they're watching this meeting. I
If
think they're
I may say-
watching in Austin.
If I may say this, when you have an opportunity, obviously, let's just say that Vallecillo was ranked fourth or fifth. Okay, let's just, for shit and giggles, let's just go ahead and say fourth or fifth. But when you have an opportunity like this with $13 million on the table, I would say 1 year, not 2 years, because that changes it to almost 16 million. But let's just do it 1 year, $13 million on the table, and you're willing to do an overpass for us, it's gonna cost around 45 to 50 million. To me, that's why I motioned it right away, because it's a no-brainer. That's just my opinion,
And that's
colleagues,
the same way.
and I'm just looking at it like that.
I just want to know.
Mayor, if I could, I need to clarify some things. First and foremost, this letter that came through, TxDOT usually abstains from voting on Category 7 MPO dollars. On this allocation of $13 million to the RMA, we will be voting in support of that item based on the fact that the Executive Director and the Transportation Commission Chairman have so elected to support this project. So we will be voting that for the support of MPO dollars to the Vallecillo roadway. The other clarification I do want to make, and I think we seem to get lost, the letter from Bruce Bugg, the chairman, clearly states that TxDOT is willing to immediately begin planning and design efforts for the project, which is the overpass of 35, and will work with you to pursue future funding opportunities for its delivery. So we're willing to start this planning and the design, and we're willing to start securing funds for that project.
Okay, but what does that mean?
It means that we will have to find those funds for the $45 million. We'll have to secure, working through you and the
UTP.
But they'll be in competition with all the other projects that we have, right? I mean, it's either we apply them there, or we apply them at Lomas del Sur, or we apply them.
That is correct.
And,
Now,
and keep in mind, you know, we still need the overpasses
Now-
over
Loop 20 overpasses.
University,
Those are separate.
Del Mar.
Those are funded.
No, but the inflation part, there's always, you know, 10, 15% more, always.
now, I will tell you, Mayor, if it could ease your mind a little bit more, the probability of getting state funds for a project on system, on 35, is a lot higher than a project off system. So while we will work to secure those funds, the probability is higher that we will get state funds for that overpass at 45.
There's a sentence in the letter that Chairman Bugg signed, and it's with the commitment from the region, when it starts off, TxDOT is willing, they want to see the action that's taken today. They want to make sure that the commitment's there. Judge, to the point, this is a framework for financing. It's not set in stone, something that David and I spoke about. We're asking for 2 years, and there's a reason we're asking for 2 years, where we have 4 million, they show us that every single penny that we were allocated be applied to the project. We have some of that money committed to projects all around town. Specifically, we want to, we've already been working with the city on the Concord Hills project. We want to allocate money against that, over $1 million. The Concord Hills extension, parallel to Cuatro Vientos. We've worked with the city on Springfield. We think there's more money going into that. We want to complete a project we've started with the county. We want to take the traffic impact analysis project and pay for the driveways to get into the fairgrounds. We're trying to leverage our dollars across the community. That's the reason I was going to ask for $2 million.
Yes, sir. Does that change the bottom line of 13 million though, Chip?
We come up short. If we only get 13, we're not.
So that's what I'm saying, so then it's gonna multiply, that's why I made the comment, it will actually add another 2 million, is that correct?
Well, if the motion by the MPO is only for 13 million, our 9 million is actually 4 million, so we need to make up some gap. That's the reason we're asking for 2 years of MPO CAT $7 to get us closer to that 35
If I may
million.
ask this question now that we're at this, May?
Yes, sir.
As far as engineering fees, I mean, what are we looking at there?
Yeah, and that's a good point.
'Cause I'm for this project, I'm just, now, you know me, I'm always about consultants and about engineering fees, I'm always questioning it.
I pay them too, and I don't like having to pay too much, so. And I appreciate, David gave me a heads up on this, and so I asked, because I wanted to break down too, to be prepared to visit with you all. What's customary is something in the range of 10% against schematics, environmental design, PS&E. This is a breakdown of everything that goes into ours. Since it's not on system, it's not an apples and oranges comparison. Since it's off system, we have costs that TxDOT wouldn't have.
So I'm getting worried because it's a long answer, so what's the damage?
It's about 18% instead of 10%. But again, I can read out everything that's here that adds up to it. There are things that TxDOT doesn't have to pay for. TxDOT would typically have administrative costs and cost of financing built into their numbers.
18% of the 13?
Of the total cost of the
Of
project.
the $80 million?
No, it was 31.5, it's somewhere in.
So of
no,
the
it's 20 it's
31 million,
27.
18%, you're looking at about 6 point something million?
No, it's the construction
Three,
cost, which
no,
is.
I'm sorry,
around-
3.4 million.
That's the number we're looking at that constitutes the about 18% that David had called me about. There's another number I got to throw out there too. 7% of that number is already built into construction if you're with TxDOT. The construction, the materials testing, we have to show that as a soft cost on the side. We could have lumped it in with construction and it would be on the other side, but it's in the 18%. Normally, it's not a number that's built in to a TxDOT project. If you look at TxDOT and they're working at 10%, the reason ours is the way we have it at 18% is because 7% of it is not in construction, it's outside of it. We have to go hire somebody else. So it's not an apples and oranges comparison.
Oh, okay, so, okay, where are we? You know, where are we in the
So, Mayor,
discussion here?
If I could make,
Yeah, Mr. Salazar, maybe you can condense it for us.
if I can make a statement here, so these are additional TxDOT dollars, even though they're state dollars. They're actually MPO Category 7 dollars. These are your dollars where the 13 million is coming from. These are your dollars.
So they're in competition with all
The
the
only
other projects
difference,
that we have.
no, these are ours. The only difference that
No,
we're
no,
doing.
it's ours, but we've got so many
Yes, sir.
projects.
For the next 10 years, we're average about $8 million of MPO dollars. What Mr. Mark Williams has committed to Mr. Brown and myself is that he's willing to expedite 2 years of those. Accelerate them, instead of having to wait 3-4 years down the road. He's willing to accelerate 2 years.
That's important,
Up
because
to
if it-
13 million.
If a CHAR takes more money, we can get the Viacio money faster. If a CHAR needs another year and a half, we can ask for the Viacio money 25 and 26 and have it moved up now. So that's. one
Okay,
of the
so
beauties
complete
of
by
that.
a CEO. That's your understanding, we got to complete by a
Yes,
CEO, correct?
but we have to, again, if a CHAR takes more money, which I think it will, once.
No, complete a charter routing is what I meant. Complete a charter routing, or then immediately thereafter, then whatever, those 2 years would kick in.
The 2 years we're asking for, sorry, TxDOT will move them up so we can get them now. We don't have to wait till 25, 26. We can get them right away.
Oh,
They're
okay.
gonna advance it.
They'll advance it.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just kind of want to go back to the whole Chair Ruthinger comment on wanting to finish it and all of this, and I understand that, but at the same time, we can't wait. You know, we have a backlog and we have bottlenecks and we have all these issues that really can't wait. You know, with Chair Ruthinger, where we're just waiting for TxDOT basically to be able to accommodate that project in a year from now, but we were only missing like that 6 million or so that we had kind of already had this discussion about a year ago or so. And so if we wait, then everything else is just gonna continue to bottleneck and backlog. And Laredo, I mean, I just wanna kind of throw it out there that, you know, we are the largest inland port and we do very well despite all the bottlenecks and the congestion. I just read an article 2 days ago in the Business Journal, San Antonio, that's talking about a $650 million investment in Corpus. And at the end of the article, it says, quote, what San Antonio, Corpus Christi, and Laredo, a major inland port, are creating is a, quote, fantastic triangle of global commerce. And so I just kind of want to throw that out there, is that, you know, we're having trouble we're going to have trouble at some point keeping up with this triangle, if you will, if we wait for one project before we start another one, or we wait for another one. And I understand the hesitancy to start all these different projects, but at the same time, you know, our region, especially the area by the trade bridges, is dying for relief. And Vallecillo is a low-hanging fruit. It's an opportunity for us to get something going, at least. I mean, if you look at the connectivity from Mines Road to 35, you only have Killam, which is congested. You have the Loop, which is very, very close to the World Trade, which gets, you know, full of 18-wheelers all the time. We're at the mercy of the Mexican systems if they tear down or if they break down or if they're having issues. You know, we all see it on our end. And then other than that, you have to go all the way up to 255. So there's no really in between. And until Hachar-Ruthinger starts, even with that, it's still very far up. Vallecillo would give that other artery. Like, I think it would be wise of us to wait for the Hachar-Ruthinger to lead, but at the same time, get this Vallecillo going so we can kind of have those two arterials going more or less in tandem with each other, but then at the same time, accommodate the project in the south. And so I think that's something that us as MPO can put into motion and say, you know, even though we ranked all the projects, these are the ones that we are going to make sure happen like as soon as possible.
Yeah, Dr. Martinez?
So,
Oh, yes.
One statement, two quick questions.
Mr. Salazar, go
Maybe
ahead.
I can help them. So, Ruth and Yard, we're waiting on the last fiscal year 23 MPO dollars, $7 million, so we could take a letting August of 23. We're expecting overruns, like you mentioned, on it, that are gonna have to be covered. Let me ask you this, how soon could you get this project to let? If we were to do it, how soon would it take you?
I have a schedule that I was given earlier today because I asked preparing for this meeting. And Melissa, if letting date on it,
January 2026.
yeah, that, January 2026, and I've asked for an expedited schedule. You understand this far better than me?
Yes, so-
These things take forever.
And I needed that statement to rest Ms. Bettis's mind, as far as January 26 is what it's gonna take them to get that project to in January 26. Has any design on that project been completed?
The schematic design is 80 to 90%, but we haven't started PS&E because we're waiting for funding.
So 90% schematic has been completed.
80 to 90% on schematic.
So while we can allocate the funds, there's still gonna be a three-year lag to get it to construction and then to get to lighting.
That's
So-
correct.
And we're trying to expedite those funds so we can appropriate those dollar amounts. The other comment I'll make is waiting on TechStat. That's a good comment, but I want to reassure the board and everybody, all the members here, that when we started this run, TechStat committed to the Ruth and Chad by taking it on board, taking on the design, taking on the environmental, taking on the inspection, and bringing it on system to expedite the project.
And we
Thank
thank
you,
you for
thank you,
that.
thank you,
We
thank
thank
you.
you for that.
So wait is a little harsh, but you are in essence waiting for me to get to the finish line, but we are committed to that project.
Mayor, my only concern, and I'm completely for the Vallecillo, but I gotta be very clear. My only concern is that the city of Laredo and the county have made incredible investments in South Laredo as well. And we're making a $50 million investment in a sports complex down there right now. And we're changing roads down there, and we have a lot of growth in that area. And so taking all this money and waiting until 2028, 2029 to make a change down there is, I don't think, appropriate. Is there a way to half fund, like split the funds, if you will? Will they get upset if we allocate 50% of the funds for 4 years so that we can actually start this other project, which is really important for us in the south side of the city? And you know, there's just really, we need to fight for that.
Oh,
So-
that was gonna be my question as well, Mayor, if I may, real quick.
Yes, sir.
You know, hearing the letting date, August 2026, can we simultaneously fund these two projects?
So you're right on. Here's the thing. I'm having flashbacks to previous areas. Here's the thing. That's a great comment because Mr. Brown is going to letting in 26, which is 3 years down the road. We can actually allocate 13 million of the MPO dollars to that letting date. We can take the $7 million and allocate it now. And we can get that done. And we can do Lomas Azul with the 7 million that we're missing on it. We will have to work on design and planning on it. And as far as the overruns on the Ruta near Achar, however, we are shorter on there. I'm thinking we're going to be short on it. We can always amend the tip to get additional funds for that project.
But hold on.
How does that
Yeah,
work?
No,
I guess I want to explain how it's
exactly.
gonna work.
I wanna know how that works.
Yeah.
When you amend the tip, where does the additional money come from?
So what we do is like we have estimates and we have additional funds. We're going to have another year that's coming up that we can allocate funds to it. If we have an underrun on the project, we can amend it. Sort of like we did
But it
on,
comes from Texas, not from our,
State funds,
not
yes.
from the MPO funds or,
unless you want it to come from the MPO.
no. We're fighting for every penny.
All in favor of that?
Remember how we cleaned up Loop 20? We came a couple of times and we cleaned it up because we had some monies that was left behind or given in advance and we cleaned it up. We can always amend the tip.
So Mayor, I did want to mention, because I think Dr. Martinez his question was this. So the way everything works right now, so everyone can, right, those 10 years, we can allocate projects anywhere in those 10 years we want right now, and we can speak for funds in each one of those years. So if the RMA is saying that the project, for example, could right now let in 26, you could use 26 and 27. Again, this is just a proposal, it would have to be looked at. 26 and 27, those 2 years, pull them forward so it can let in 26. In essence, what that would give you,
24 and 25?
yes, to use. Again, granted, we need to look at what overruns we potentially could have from a Char-Ruttinger, but that money would be available for a project to let in 24, 25.
And we would update the UTP of the STIP with the Vice Hill roadway letting in 26.
Correct, right. And appropriate those funds to it, the CAT 7
Mr.
funds.
Brown, did they tell you that? Did they tell you that it was 26 and 27, or did it tell
No,
you?
what they're watching for, what they want to see is the commitment of the funding. I can't speak to the timing of it because we didn't know what was going to happen with the CHAR, where that budget's going to come in. And I'm not sure if I don't think it matters if it's 26, 27 because they've said they'd move it up. But if the MPO decides to slide other projects in front of it, I think that's where they might have a problem with it. But I can't speak to
The important thing is the
TxDOT.
commitment, I think, from this.
I can't speak to how TxDOT would see it. That's not
I
my.
think the concern right now from TxDOT is that the upcoming 10 years of CAT 7 and MPO dollars are not committed to projects.
Yeah.
If you commit to projects now, as we're slating, it's a clear cut, hey, these projects are committed.
And that's leveraging your dollars. That's exactly what, now, I'm sorry, if I may, you made a comment right now that we could piggyback off, I don't know if we could piggyback off of the 7 million that you need for Las Lomas Azul, because if not, I would move a motion, or I would amend my motion, but I don't think we could do that with the way it reads right now, can we?
Does any other matters?
But I think any other matters incident there too, meaning only, because I read that too, but it only is for by a CO road project, and that's what I think we're handcuffed there. That's why I'm asking Juan to bring up another another agenda item.
Yeah, we'll bring it back, and like I mentioned, my job as the interim director is to make sure that you all have a clear picture. We support via seal, we just want to make sure, what years do we program? And
Yes, but
that way we make sure that we program.
No, let me go back a little bit. We have a motion by the judge, and of course, seconded by you. I think, to fill that gap, I think it's clear to me that there's flexibility, just as long as we commit, to this Vallecillo project, the 13 million, now,
But it's
this
not
board,
13 million, Mayor. It is 2 years worth of 8 million,
No,
so
no.
it's 16 million.
but capped at 13.
No.
That's
these
not
are
right.
not-
No,
that's
but
not-
your motion is 16, okay.
No, and the reason why they're doing that is because in order for the RMA to be able to help with other projects, they require 2 years worth of funding, which would equal 16 million, which would
well,
then allow them to free
What you
up
said 13.
1 million for, I think, Concord Hills and 1 million for Springfield and some other stuff like that that you guys are working on, right? And the project that you're working on.
But is that correct? Hold on, I think the motion was, you capped it at 13 million. That's
I
what
never
heard.
capped it, sir, I just moved the motion.
He
No,
just
you said
moved the mo-
13 or something.
No, Mayor,
Okay, that's fine.
the
Can we
motion
clarify
was
the
to,
motion?
the motion was to fund, and then what we didn't know is where we were gonna get the funding. So the motion was to fund the gap in Vallecillo, and
Category 7.
from category 7.
The confusion was just that the letter mentioned 13 million, but what Mr. Brown is stating is that they would like to not use all the 9 million because they want to leverage some of those other dollars. That's where the confusion stems from. Because the letter says 13 million, but the request is for 16 million, or 2 years, 2 full years.
Which David and I have both verified, am I allowed to speak right now?
Yes, sir.
Which David and I have both verified is okay, that I've confirmed it through the governor's office. David's confirmed it too, that the money, as long as it's coming in locally, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't have to all be from the 9 from us. It can be.
I think it's important to ask this question, and I'm not sure if anyone knows it, I've asked it, is we're at $68 million sitting there from the category 7, is that correct?
Those are,
Because all we have to do is just start subtracting our our 16 or whatever, 8 and 8, and it goes from there, and then the other 7, so then you start going, and then you have a little bit of piggy bank left over, but we're leveraging our monies right now. Is that not what we're doing?
It is correct, but it's actually 74 million.
What is it?
74.
74 million. There you go.
You got a lot of money to spend in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a tech-
but
it's a tech-
accurately and correctly, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, a lot of people,
Yes, sir.
I'm one of those guys, you give me $1, I want to spend 150.
And Mayor, I just want to clarify to everyone, like Mr. Sal mentioned right now, the CAT 7 is MPO funds, right? Those are funds that, as a committee, policy committee, we could have allocated, we can allocate at any time, as long as we vote on it. Where TxDOT comes in is TxDOT is saying, and I believe we had spoken about this maybe about a year ago, about the possibility, TxDOT's coming in and saying, we can accelerate the use of those funds, right? So wherever you program it, again, I threw out 26 just because Mr. Brown said that it would be ready to let in January 26. At that point, you would accelerate whatever money's in the future. That way, we're not in the position like we are right now with the Char-Ruthinger, where we're waiting for money to bankroll in order to let. TxDOT saying, you know what? We'll balance the books. We'll accelerate those 13 million, which is currently what the letter says.
Without interest.
Yeah, I mean,
Mayor, but I think it's important,
Yeah.
if I can, just to kind of go back to what Tito was saying right now, and just to clarify that I wasn't trying to say anything negative about TxDOT. I was just stating what we all know is true, is that TxDOT did take over that project, and we are waiting for them to be able to start that project, right? But if we go ahead with these other projects, then we can go ahead and start getting those constructed, because I don't think TxDOT is going to be building Vallecillo Road. So while we're waiting on Char-Ruthinger, we can also get these other things. And I do think it's important for us to set our priorities and just let everybody know, like, this is important to us, and it would still leave us money to, a fund additional for Char-Ruthinger, incidentals, if you will, or whatever. But I don't think we're being unfiscally responsible or irresponsible, because we still have money, waiting there in case we need it. But at the same time, we are making it clear what our priorities are, and I think that's important for us to do today.
If I may, I'm gonna go ahead and amend my motion and cap it at 16 million. Even though I'm not 100% comfortable with the 18% on the engineering company, I will just put that out there. Very uncomfortable with that. I think that's crazy amount of money, and it's gonna start showing precedents from here forward, and that makes me nervous. So I know you've explained it, and I know we have H&TB here, but I'm just saying, I personally am very uncomfortable with that. And so I'm gonna go ahead and amend my motion and cap it at 16 million.
So,
I will second that.
so can I speak on to it now, now that it was second? Can I speak to it? or not?
Sure.
Yes.
So the ask was 13 from Mr. Brown, correct?
No, it's 16. Well, it was 16.5, but the motion was 16.
Oh, if you want 16.5, is that where it's at now?
That's what I was asking for 2 years. And
But the initial request.
that wasn't, no, that wasn't our request. Our request was a little bit more than that. It was 13.5, but TxDOT had rounded 31.5 to 35 million. So you're saying for escalation.
So you're asking 16.5?
That was.
That
my
will be
request.
my amended motion,
Thank you.
16.5.
Dr. Martinez, as amended.
Mayor, should we call for the question on this, or?
Yeah,
are we still
do we all feel comfortable? Yeah, call for the question. And again,
One more clarification. So we do have those 10 years. The only ones MPO that got accelerated are these 2 years for Vicedo Railway. Don't walk away thinking that we're gonna be able to accelerate year 10 to next year. We only got approval to accelerate 2 years of MPO CAT $7.
but keep in mind, and then, I'm a little confused now, and Mr. Gonzalez is now saying that we can basically work within that 10-year period and use whatever funds are
Right,
available.
right. Remember, you can program projects any way you want. Again, I'm gonna use HR Route as an example. Normally, we would have to wait for all the funds to be available to let. In Viceo's case, like Mr. Sala mentioned, they said in that case, you can accelerate 2 years of funds to let that project. So you don't have to have that money sitting in the bank.
Okay, so probably CEO is the exception.
That is the only one. That is the only project they
That's what
approve,
I
yes.
wanted to clarify.
Oh, okay.
And the
Because I thought
letters-
maybe we could start moving on all projects.
And the letter states that they can accelerate 13. Now, the MPO can program as much money as they want to Vicedo.
So Mayor, I'm going to bring it up again. I know we're ready to vote on it, and I'm in support as well. What's going to happen to the Lomas del Sur overpass? Is that going to push it back another year, 2 years?
We're gonna bring it back, the next action item, I'm asking them to bring it, and that way we could reconsider for the 7 million that the TxDOT needs, that way we can leverage our another $7 million there. It's a very important.
So we don't foresee we're going to push this project back another 2 years?
I was gonna ask something about that to TxDOT, it was just a question. I know that on the ETP, the letting date is 2027. If we were to fund those 7 million, would that accelerate that project, or we're still looking at 2020?
Yeah, we would have to go to the next UTP cycle again, to the step, we would have to reprogram it. The positive of that project is that it's inside existing right-of-way and it's already environmentally cleared. We already have a consultant that we brought on board that's starting to do the design on that, so you don't have to worry about anything, there's no utilities, there's no right-of-way,
How
there's no boundaries.
fast could we do that if we allocate those 7 million?
18,
25, 27.
20, 18 months?
Yeah, for design all to be
Can
complete.
we
about 18
take that
months,
as a
18 months.
separate motion, do you
Oh,
think?
no, that's.
Yeah, it would have to be a
Let's
separate.
close up on this, I think.
Yeah, we can do that.
And the years, did we choose 26 and 27, or did we say it didn't matter? Do we need clarification on that? Mr. Brown, I just want to make
No,
sure we
it can
did this
be
correctly.
accelerated, I just don't know where
It's
it
whenever
needs to
you're
fall. I
ready,
was
the
asking-
money's gonna be
yeah.
there.
He's ready to go to letting in 26.
So the money should be ready
So
by
we can
then.
allocate 26 and 27.
Right, yeah,
That work, I was hoping for 25, 26, but I don't know, there's formalities you gentlemen
Right.
understand.
Well, they want
I
to
don't.
take 25 to Lomas del Sur.
And
And some of 24.
I think the idea is that we need to program it in the year that we're gonna let, so like a chart with several years
But we need to be.
to the year that it was gonna let.
We need to be careful here. Mr. Brown is telling us that they don't want to show, or they don't want to see that any other project is more important than this project. You said that on the record, correct?
Which we've already expressed as well. We are all in support of ICOs. We all know that it's ranked number 1, and that's why we're here with this motion. So you can't have it any more clear that we want and we need this
This is why we're
project
taking
to
care of
move
this
forward.
motion now, yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to certainly call the governor's office after this meeting and let him know what happened, and David will let TxDOT Austin know what happened, and if there's a problem with the way something takes place, I guess we might be back before you next month. I can't speak to some of the formalities that I don't necessarily
You can
understand.
expedite the
What
funds, but you can expedite the letting date, it's
Mayor.
where it falls, and that's
What I'll
it's-
do for the next meeting, I'll bring the item for Lomas del Sur, but I'll leave it open to CAT 7. So if we need to make any changes, we can do that at the next meeting, if we need to change the
Are we fine
years.
if we get 26, 27? I'm sorry, I am asking Melissa Montemayor a question. Are we okay if we get 26?
25, 26 is really fits our schedule. And we already have a schedule. And we have a schematic that's already 80, 90% complete.
But you identify yourself for the record?
Melissa Montemayor, I'm with HNTB, the GEC for the Webb County City of Laredo RMA. So 25, 26, we can let this project fiscal year 2026. Right now, we're saying January. It could be as early as September of 2025, which is still fiscal year 2026. So with that in mind, fiscal year 2025 and 2026 funds of CAT 7 fit just perfectly with our letting schedule, and still would not have to accelerate any CAT 7 dollars, because it would use a previous year of 2025 and the existing letting year of fiscal year 2026.
And we would still have 24 to potentially put
Exactly.
towards Lomas del Sur.
You would still have
Precisely.
7, you would have 7 million.
Hold on,
24.
when is the root thing here, is it 2023?
Yeah,
That's
it's
the end of it.
scheduled to let in 2023.
Okay, and
But
that's-
there are already $3 million left of 2020 two funds.
Correct, but there might be overruns, so that's,
That would cover the HR, hopefully.
So
That would leave all of 2024, the $8 million in 2024 to allocate to any other project, could be Lomas del Sur. And then the 2 years that we are requesting for Vallecillo Road would be fiscal year 2025 and 2026 to coincide with our letting date without requesting any acceleration of category
Right,
7.
it falls right into place with your plan,
to
the way it's stated right now.
25, 26, so that we're
Yes, sir.
clear on that?
So,
For-
Ms.
for-
Mayority, if we're ready to go to letting in 26, and we accelerate 26 and 27, if you're ready to go to letting in 25,
September of 2025, which would still be fiscal year 2026.
so we could accelerate 26 and 27 to fund that project.
I think what
Well,
Mr.
if you
Salazar,
want to accelerate a year's worth, but then, I think the NPO is looking towards allocating its CAT $7.
Right.
So I think 2025 and 2026 fits better with our schedule and allocating those earlier dollars first.
It would fit to your schedule, but again, if for some unforeseen reason you push it back, we could accelerate 2 years. We have the commitment to accelerate 2 years. What I'm concerned about is in 24, we're short on Ruth and Char. We may end up taking a little bit from 25 to get it funded, or if we have 7 left from 25, we take it to Lomas del Sur. As long as we can accelerate it, and you're telling me fiscal year 26, I don't have a concern or see why we wouldn't accelerate 26,
Yeah, and-
27, or 28.
David,
Yeah,
your
and
point-
I'm gonna clarify that, so it really wouldn't even be accelerating 26, because the way Texas
Accelerate
works is
27, 28.
September 1st, we get the balance for the whole year, right? Or the NPO gets the balance for, so if it lets in 26, you would only be accelerating 1 year, which is 27. I think that the main point is that let it wherever the RMA, as soon as they can have it ready, that's a priority, right? We're gonna
With
let
the
it.
commitment of
Yeah.
the fiscal year's MPO CAT $7 to the RMA.
Right.
I guess, Mayor, if I may. So, David, to your point about Achar, it very well may have overruns. But there are $3 million left of 2022, and then $8.1 million in 2024. Will
What happened to
Achar,
23?
23, yeah.
I mean, sorry,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
2023.
it's on page 15 of your packet.
So,
Yeah, there's 3 left in
So
23.
2024 has $8 million, $8.1 million available, plus the $3 million of 2023, because we understand there's $1 million here that's not allocated to another
World Trade
project,
Bridge
the World Trade
expansion.
Bridge. So, would a char overrun by close to $10 million? I don't think so.
Not sure.
So, but anyway, even if it did, that would be covered with the remainder of 23 and the 8.1 of 24. And then that would allow 2025 and 26 to be allocated to Vallecillo Road.
Yeah, but that doesn't account for Lomas, which is a very big priority for us. And I'm gonna
Well,
keep
it-
saying it over and over and over again.
It could be because there are $8 million in 2024.
But we don't know if they're
That
gonna be
are
used on the
allocated.
chart.
that could be pushing a major project years back. Where over here in the situation of ICOs, if expediting those funds is an option already, let's make use of expediting those funds. for
The
those
only
2
thing,
years.
David, I would ask is, and I'm watching what's happening with the motion. I appreciate everything y'all are doing. I know it's a struggle to get to where it makes sense to have a motion, but just please make sure if for some reason a motion is, at the next meeting, a motion is made for 25, it sounds like, to be Lomas del Sur, that we can still accelerate 26,
Of
27.
course.
That's gonna be the
Of
first
course.
question
Right.
today.
That's what I'm
Right.
processing it.
Yeah, so in that stance, what happened is Lomas would take the original program in 25, and then Vallecillo would take 26, and then accelerate 27 or 28.
The beauty of Lomas del Sur is that we're on the design now. There is no environmental, there is no clearance. Whether we take funds from state dollars or somewhere else or move it, we can do that. It's not gonna take the duration of very long to get that done.
I do want to mention something that Commissioner Gonzalez mentioned, is that, remember, so whatever, say you decide to accelerate 26 and 27, when you do that, we need to be mindful that whatever projects, money you accelerated, now you're going to have to wait till 28 to let another project for the money to be there.
Well, we've been waiting on her chart with you
Yeah.
for a while, so.
So,
I'd rather have my money up front on anytime I can get it.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah.
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment. So I know we talked a lot about money and everything, and for those watching who might have gotten lost in the conversation, I'm excited about hearing all of this is that I see 3 projects that are gonna come online sooner than later, like three very needed projects. And I see, our city being able to flow better and our traffic and our issues being alleviated a lot sooner. And I know that it's scary to say, oh, we're tying up all our money into this or that, but you know, we never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. We can maybe push for some other thing, or these projects could be eligible for different funding, or maybe, hopefully, the state will look at Port Laredo and maybe give us some extra funding for stuff like that. But as of right now, I mean, I'm hearing Lomas del Sur, Vallecillo, and Hachar-Ruthinger, which to me is very, very exciting and very, very much needed. And Vallecillo might seem like a new project, but we've been talking about it for years. I remember advocating for this as a private citizen, you know, asking for relief years ago. And so Hachar-Ruthinger's been in the works for over 20 years. And so I don't think people realize just how long and how much work it takes to get these things going. But right now, I think 3 big major projects sooner than later is very exciting for me.
Okay, we need I can clarify the motion one more time. I think,
I don't remember it, it's been so long.
You amended it like 3 or 4
I
times
took a
already.
nap already and I already came back to life, so.
We're in support.
yeah, 16.5, but I do remember it's capped at 16.5, was it?
And did I hear you?
16. Yeah,
say-
no, hold on. 16.5, no, who can clarify? I'm a
I
little
know.
lost
It
in
was 16.5, a motion, second, then you went into discussion.
discussion, so, but
But I don't know if you need to
but the
specify
funding part,
the
when do we
year.
actually, did we commit certain years to that?
That's the part I haven't heard.
16.5?
That was what they were asking to clarify that. So the motion at this point was just cap it at 16.5 for 2 years.
And
I know
then we'll
Mr.
worry
Salazar
when
was-
the money's.
Well, Mr. Salazar was
will be
asking to commit those years. So it's 26, 27 was being
No,
proposed.
but we were told
Right.
25, 26.
So where are we there? Can we,
26, 27,
Can you do that?
26, 27 would be,
well, it's a motion in a second, do you want to?
Cover it.
25 would cover anything that throw from Lutheran Child.
Let's just do 25, 26, guys, because that's the plan right now, and if we need to change it, we can change it.
Can we change it? And I'm asking
It's an override.
Mr. Salazar later on.
but then we're going back to pushing Lomas out.
We're not.
Of the plan right now.
We're not.
With 25?
25, 26, we would fund Lomas
So
also.
maybe opportunities, as a reminder.
Well, there's an assumption there.
Maybe.
Mayor, if I may, I can mention this is the intent to program the funds. We would still need to go to the tip. There's a public involvement period for that. So when we bring it back to the tip, you can still talk about the years, right? Saying we need to reprogram those years. So there's still opportunities for that. But it makes sense right now, or it'd be best to be able to say which years you want us to program. That way staff can start working on
Can we
those
say,
amendments.
anywhere between 25 and 28? You know, give us a 3-year range, but
I would ask
wherever
that
it falls.
you mention the 2 years, commit to the 2 years. That makes it a lot simpler and cleaner.
25, 26.
Because that's what we'll need to bring the tip amendment with those exact years.
So if we commit to 25, 26, we can still move the tip around if we should need to fund Lomas in case there's no funds for 25, 26. Is that correct?
No, he's talking about dates, not funding.
Well, the funding's there, this funding's available, it's 78 million that we have available, like Mr. Gonzalez mentioned. We could fund all that towards whichever projects we want right now, then we'd need to amend the tip. So right now, we're asking, okay, how much do you want to fund for Vallecillo, and in which years, that way we can start programming it. That still leaves money for Lomas del Sur in 2024, in 2027, in 28,
I
in the
gotta
future.
ask, Mayor, so.
Yes, sir.
Look, TxDOT, you guys are seeing what we're dealing with here, and so can you help us somehow more with Lomas del Sur, because it's a big priority for us?
So it is a big priority, just like we submitted for this year, and it went on a competitive competition across the state, and it did not get funded. I cannot sit here and tell you that it's going to get funded in the next 2 years. I can submit it once again, and it'll go on a competitive mode with projects across the state. It'll be submitted as a priority, but it was submitted as a priority this year, and it did not get funded. So it's.
You have
one of
no
those things.
money that you can, because TxDOT has this sneaky way of like
All the money
finding
that I
funds,
have-
like.
All the money that I have is.
Yeah, don't
on,
insult them, please.
No, I'm not, I'm not. No, I'm not.
All the money that we have is on the 10-year UTP. That's all the funding that we have currently.
Well, was the question about Lomas del Sur or Vallecillo?
Lomas.
Nothing about Lomas, so I
Bring
agree.
it back.
So
The UTP
I
does have
think
some-
if Mr. Gonzalez will give us a recap of
Bring it back to next.
the dollar amounts that are on Ruth Chad, what's left in it, what Lomas Azul needs and what we can utilize, we can make that decision. Because we will have to create an advanced funding agreement specifying which years this money of MPO dollars is gonna come from. And that it's strictly for construction dollars when it comes to MPO CAT 7 dollars. We'll have to get that in the agreement. But if you can give us a recap of the total funds and where we're at, what fiscal year 24 funds MPO are gonna go to Ruth and your child, what's gonna be left over, I think that would help us clarify where we're at.
Yeah, I guess what I can answer, because I think what everyone's, fear is what I'm hearing is that
What time period?
if you put a project in front of ICO, potentially that can get pushed back, right? Because the urgency can let, right now you're saying is FY '26. So even if that would happen, and say you did put Lomas, the MPO decided to put Lomas in front of it, even if it did overrun, you already have the approval from TxDOT to accelerate 2 future years. So your letting date that you establish is gonna be where the project is gonna let. So there's no gamble for you on your part as far as not meeting the letting date. So
Yeah,
they can set the letting date and they can,
I hear what you're saying. I just want you and David to make sure from Austin that it doesn't muddy
Yes,
the
sir.
waters.
Yeah, from our perspective, we keep hearing the TxDOT people tell us 26, 27, and so I guess if it's okay, I'd like to say 26, 27, and they can come back and tell us if we were wrong, because they keep saying 26, 27 is their appropriate time.
And then by the TxDOT people, you're saying, and Mr. Zilla and Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, both board members.
What is
Is
our
that
motion?
correct?
Is our motion different than that?
No, so
No,
we
I
haven't
don't-
made the date yet, sir.
You haven't
So
said
you would have to amend 26, 27.
I'm gonna go with what the wishes of the MPO. I appreciate all the dialogue that you all have had.
We're good with that? All right, that'd be my amended motion as well.
TxDOT people feel,
And I
that's,
will make the call to ensure that we can accelerate.
and even, I guess, one more,
Overall, the letting date
the
is not
motion
changed.
has been amended as discussed, 26, 27 fiscal years. And up to 13.5.
No,
I mean,
16.5. 16.5.
Sorry, 16.5.
It's late.
Okay, so call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Y'all will
sir,
see
thank
me
you.
again later in the meeting when I update you on RMA projects.
Just don't bring up ICO and, don't bring up any of this anymore, please. We're good, please, just don't do it.
No, this is good, really.
Please don't do it.
We've made some headway here. Thank you very much. And thank you to TxDOT like usual. Let's see what else. Let's see.
I have an item, Mayor.
Okay.
This item reads, discussion with possible action on connecting International Boulevard north of the Loop to I-35 and other necessary mobility improvements in Northeast Laredo and any other matters incident there too.
Doc, where are the monies coming from?
So we don't know yet. These are potentially CAT 7 funds that we were looking for as well. But I want to talk about it first and start the process of looking at it because we haven't even started to look at it. So we don't even know the cost nor the location, but we haven't really started to look to this. And so what's happening is there's a couple of issues that we're facing right now. Number one.
Do you have a map?
Yeah, you guys have one?
Yes, we have it on the screen.
So there's numerous things that have been working. Specifically, when Loop 20 was designed, they made a no exit, so no off-ramp to McPherson. So there's an on-ramp, but no off-ramp. And McPherson is literally the busiest street in all of Laredo. It has traffic counts that are equal to to the Loop and also to I-35. And right now, as it stands, people have to exit, or are going to have to exit onto International, go through International, which has a ton of traffic, and then to get to McPherson. I've been speaking to TxDOT about, why didn't that happen? And apparently there was some piecemealing that was occurring at the time, and right now there's not enough distance to create an off-ramp when there's already an on-ramp that exists there. You need 1,800 feet, and it doesn't exist. There's a possibility for them to add an off-ramp if they remove the on-ramp, which would alleviate a lot of issues that we're facing in that area. But in order to do that, they need to have another exit. So my constituents in that part of town, if you've been to that part of town, they struggle because really, when you're looking at that area, I can't use the mouse, but you look at International and then McPherson heading north, there's really, where United is, there's no exit there. So all that traffic right there, it all gets blocked up and log jammed into this area. What we're looking for is a secondary exit or a secondary entrance to be able to get out from this whole northeast part of town. The goal is to extend McPherson north and extend International north all the way up to mile marker 13 in the 50, 70, 80 years from now, whenever it happens. But we need another exit getting out from that United High School across, if you will, and there's already an overpass that exists that TxDOT was telling me about. Mr. Salazar, can you kind of demonstrate where that sort of exists?
Sure, so right there where that mouse is at, that's Tres Equis intersection. There is an overpass there. So great description of what's going on in the area. And what happened in the construction phase of that, if y'all can recall, when the McPherson overpass was constructed, we only had enough funds for McPherson. So when we built the overpass, it made perfect sense to build an on-ramp, so you wouldn't get traffic light. Why have an overpass if you can't utilize it? So that's why the McPherson overpass is there. And then if y'all recall, we got funding for International. At that point, we did the same thing. We did an on-ramp and an off-ramp for International, so we can fly over. The problem with it is that the proximity of McPherson to International is so close that with FHWA regulations, we can't put an off and on-ramp. And what happens right now is that all that traffic from the Los Palmares, San Isidro, the ninth grade campus, the high school, the elementary school, the warehousing there, they all come down and they utilize that ramp right before McPherson. If we were to make that an off-ramp, all that traffic would funnel down to the McPherson traffic light, and it would be backed up. So it makes perfect sense, and it was in line with our study of the traffic study on it, that the best possible solution for that area right now was the on-ramp in McPherson. Certainly a need for an off-ramp there, like Mr. Marte has described. So the concern is if we had an alternate route for all those subdivisions, the schools, back toward 35, where they have another exit and alleviate that traffic that is coming out to McPherson, we can certainly at that point look at it where we could remove the on-ramp and place an off-ramp. If it would so fit with the study, we would conduct it at that point.
And what we're trying to do here is in line with the future land use and major thoroughfare plan for the city of Laredo. But we do need, it is a large project that's going to require some studying and some funds and maybe even some RMA support and things along those lines. Sorry, I'm just
Just the overpass will cost you a good 30 minutes.
Well, I think the overpass already exists there.
Correct.
You can go south. Yeah, so it's really just connecting from this area to I-35 because the necessary infrastructure on I-35 already exists.
I think, Dr. Martinez, I don't know, Ms. Mendiva, if you can put up the master plan for the city, because it actually shows it, right? It's actually on there already. I know we're drawing lines, measuring lines, but there's actually something that's already drawn already.
But what we need to do is to start establishing a cost, start establishing a way of making this happen, because I think the mobility in this particular portion of the city is really hampered. And we have a lot of development that's occurring there, both warehouse development and residential development, and we keep getting one exit, and that exit being International, no other way of getting out. And so I know Mines Road is dealing with the same sort of concept. And so if we can find another road, I think it would be something advantageous to that whole area.
So there is a proposed minor arterial, which is United Avenue that extends, as shown here in the thoroughfare plan. That overpass that you mentioned, the expansion of that is in our long-range plan. We would need to add the United Avenue to our long-range plan in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. But in the city's thoroughfare plan, future thoroughfare plan, that road is there. It's this dotted line you see here right above the little handprint.
So what would we need to do at this point to get this process started, Mr. Mendiva, if you don't mind me asking?
Like I mentioned, we would need to add this project to the MTP. Elise mentioned, it's a priority. We'll add it there, and then again, once it's, we need to make sure that it's within that fiscally constrained project list to make sure there's funds for the future. But definitely, we would need cost estimates, more project information on this to be able to program that in our in our long-range transportation plan.
Okay, and that would be something that we would do through the city first?
Yeah, if this is going to be a city-built road, we would need to get that project information from the city.
Okay, all right. And as far as finding funds for this, though, we could potentially find funds if we, from Cat 7, if you will, in addition to whatever city funds, as long as we're able to get a cost estimate first.
Yes, that is correct. And what's important is that we add it to our MTP, because if it's not on there, then again, we can't be programming Cat $7.
You can't add it to the MTP unless you do, you can add it to the MTP now, or do you need?
There's two lists, project lists in our MTP. There's a fiscally constrained project list that says what are the available revenues.
It's a 5-year, no?
Well, it's through 2045, so it's expected revenues through 2045. If there's money available there, we can say we can program this in there. And then there's it's more like a wish list of projects that if there's additional available funding available, these are projects we would wish to do. But I believe we will be able to add this to the MTP, and we'll just need to make sure that there's fiscal constraint. And we need to look at all the projects, as we do have projects in the MTP that are outlined for Cat $7 all the way to 2045, right? So those are the projects like right now you were talking about, those were in there. So this would be a project that we can add to there, and we can see if there's funds available, but there should be that availability.
Well, that would be my motion, Mayor, to add this to the MTP in that category, which is the
And
fiscally constrained.
then at some point, we would prioritize that, because keep in mind, we've got so many other projects.
Yes, this wouldn't be, this is just to add it to the list.
Just add it to the list.
There's two
and then
things, I
we'll-
mean,
when time comes, we can prioritize.
the current MTP we have is 2020 to 2045. Pretty soon, we'll start working on our 2025 to 2050 MTP, so we can also add that project in there. But, so it's just a matter of saying, when would we be able to let this project, we'll be adding that. The other thing I was gonna mention, what was the question you had, Mayor, excuse me? Just.
No, that there's going to be ample opportunity to prioritize.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there'll be that opportunity in the future
It's
as
the fact
well.
that it's in the list, it doesn't.
Yeah, so y'all can make that motion right now. Again, I'll have to bring a formal agenda item to add this project to the MTP, ensure it's fiscal constrained, have the public involvement, so we'll have to do all that to add it to the MTP. And there's going to be opportunities in the future to prioritize these projects.
But it doesn't take out any other project that's currently on that MTP list.
We'll need to look at that right now. Like I mentioned, there is a long project list in the MTP through 2045 that it's based on estimated revenues. So that's a discussion we could have.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. What's the fiscal constraint of the MTP?
I'll have to check. It was significant. If I may open that here.
Yeah, it was gonna bump up a project that's been on the books for years.
I want to say it was like $375 million.
We need to, the thing is,
Okay.
Mayor, that-
We may have to look at it a little closer.
no, the thing is.
But you can make your motion.
Yeah, so
Oh, we could add.
the problem that we're dealing with is none of these funds have gone to this area, zero, right? So,
Yeah, but I hear the same arguments, none have gone to the south.
and we've prioritized the south over the last 4 years. It's high time that we prioritize the northeast part of the town as well, because it is important. And so although I have been given, I have supported the west and the south and downtown, but now it's time to do something for the northeast. This is how we do it. We give a little here, we give a little there, and so we have to start thinking about the northeast part of the town. Because if we don't plan this area correctly, we're gonna have a repeat of what happened in the northwest part of town. So if we start planning northeast correctly, and we plan it from now, we're not gonna deal with the same issues that we dealt with on the west.
Well, let me ask you this, will this compete in any way with the overpasses, great separations on the Loop 20? We need to get that Loop 20 down, period.
Those are already programmed.
No, those are fully funded and
That's what I
programmed.
mean, so they're not in
No.
competition, yeah, okay.
These are wish list type things, and again, I just wanna add it, I wanna start doing a cost analysis, I wanna figure out what it's gonna look like. This is just a simple road, it may not cost
Okay,
us
but
all
it's
that much.
impacting another project, and we don't know what that other project is.
I'll need to look at the full scope of the MTP, but we do have a project selection process in the MTP that looks at different objective factors. So when we did that MTP a few years back,
And if you want,
we looked at all the projects, prioritized everything. The conversation we've had with you a few months ago, and we've been having the technical committee, is like, how often do we revisit these projects? Recently, the technical committee said, you know what, maybe every year we can just come back, bring the priority list and just say, are these still our priorities? Are there other factors that the policy committee wants the technical committee to look at? And we can go ahead and
Yeah, because this
run it through that
certainly takes
process.
priority to, it's so congested there, but then compared to what?
Exactly, and so all I'm saying is we're starting the conversation now. This doesn't mean that we're gonna change anything right now. We're starting the conversation. We still have we still have to come back and
But I think it will
prioritize.
change. If you add it now, if we move and you put it on the list, it's
That's the
gonna-
long-range plan, and your short-range plan, which is your TIP, Transportation Improvement Program, which is for 4 years, right, from fiscal year right now, 23 to 26. That's where you're setting your priorities through 2026.
Okay, let me ask you this, a question. By adding this project now, is it gonna be ahead of another project? Some other project will be out of the list?
We added to the NTP, that gives it an opportunity to be added to the Transportation Improvement Program.
Okay, but it's not gonna-
That'd be a discussion for the committee to have and to decide, is that a project we want between 23 and
Okay, if
26?
we
Is
can choose
there available
priorities
funds?
later, by all means.
It's like adding it to a plan.
There's a whole prioritization process. And again, could be something that's going to be, again, revisited in the new long-range Metropolitan Transportation Plan.
Yeah,
Yes, I
Mr.
think there's a
Navarro wants to
yeah,
comment.
Ms. Orley. Not seeing all the other projects, but it's not gonna take away from the list, it's just adding another project, I think that's my understanding. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, Orlando Navarro, Planning Director for the record. Just a little bit of insight of what's going on in this area. We just had an annexation for an elementary school right behind this ninth grade campus. Or excuse me, this is not ninth grade campus. So they did a little piece right here to put an elementary school. That's gonna add so much traffic to International, it's gonna be a problem. Then down over here, this warehouse right here, they annexed this row of vehicles just because that part was not part of the city. What that triggered was a discussion with the landowner that we don't have a master plan for this area. So we've already discussed with them that there is a need for an out to come to McPherson and also to take, let me get the name of this road right here, East Point, and also bring it north to connect, in hopes that we can get the road sooner than later from the developer, and this traffic has a way north to get to 35. We actually have a meeting this week because they are coming forward with a proposed master plan for this area, because we need the road sooner than later. The idea is typically what happens, you get the development going and they piecemeal it. And we're not asking for piecemeal, we're asking for roads before the development. So we are in discussions with them. We will be talking with them because of those annexations without a master plan, it really got us nervous we don't know what's going on. And what'll happen is they'll piecemeal their development and it's just gonna add to this. Now, on that note, if you get up further north and you look at the racetrack, I call it the racetrack. Majestic, 2,000 acres, okay? I don't have a master plan for this, okay? So they're coming in, they're piecemealing. I have no way to get them to Carrier, to get out at Carrier with more traffic. And I need roads south of this, and I need roads north of it if we're gonna get a Char Ruthinger to cross over 35 to get roads for this whole project. That's 2,000 acres of land, and I don't have any roads. We do have to talk to the county on that, because that's very important. So not only do we have the issue of getting traffic away from International, which is desperately needed, but we also have that project on the north side. So discussions are being had with the developers, because we need master plans. We can't do this without master plans.
We did the same thing on the west side of this, and it got us into the predicaments that we're in, that we're currently spending millions of dollars to try to undo. We can't do the same thing on the northeast side of the town. We have to be a lot more systematic and very disciplined in how we master plan this area, because it's gonna grow. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to Ms. Pettis over here. So now's the time for us to make these decisions and start adding these roads as we go in a I keep saying systematic, but in a square pattern all the way up, so that it's very straight and we can separate it into blocks and we have it gridded and planned so that we don't go through these problems that we did on the other side of the town. And so to that end, Mayor, that's why I think it's important. we don't get to decide where the schools put in schools, where the school district does what they want to when they want to.
But the developer needs to be more attentive to that too. I
And
mean,
we can't be
cover all
doing little pieces at a
expenses.
time. I have to see the master plan, so
Yeah.
that's why the developer's coming in.
Yeah, and again, right now, the school district just added hundreds of vehicles to an extremely crowded road. And I get the calls every week regarding this area, just like others get the calls every week regarding their other areas. If we can get an exit from this point somewhere else, I think it will resolve a lot of issues and it gets us started on the right track. So that's why I'm
Okay,
bringing
that's your
this on.
motion. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Commissioner Gonzalez, discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
2, 3. No, vote as well. 4. Okay, motion carries. Let's see what else. Yeah, discussion of possible action on the Charruthinger Road project. Any more information from TechStat other than what we discussed as a sidebar, more or less, when we had the other action?
No, I believe, Mayor, that's, I think, update again. We're still planning August 2023, the lead date, so we're moving forward with that
Okay.
on target.
That's fine, thank you. Moving on to Roman numeral 5A, presentation on planning environmental linkages by the Federal Highway Administration. Representative, Mr. is it Faber? Faber?
You got a front row seat, sir. That's how we do business.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
That's great. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the Policy Board. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about planning and environmental linkages. It's been an exciting meeting today, and I really missed out coming back to these meetings a couple of years, last 2 years. A lot of good discussion on funding and fiscal constraint and all the things we talk about in the planning world, about long-range plans and tips. So, but don't worry, there's not a shortage of money. We had $1.2 trillion that was passed by Congress in November of 2021, signed into law under the bipartisan infrastructure law. So there's plenty of money. I mean, for good ideas, I'm sure there's a way to fund it. I mean, there's got to be a way.
I like this guy.
We'll just start writing you checks as soon as you walk out the door here. But no, I can't do that right now. I didn't bring my checkbook with me, but I will talk about planning and environmental linkages and give you a little overview of what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is take the planning products that are coming out of the planning process, like the long-range plan, the corridor studies, even the TIP, take those documents, the modeling that you do to prepare those plans and programs, carry them forward into the environmental process and link them together. And once we make that linkage, we save time, we save money, we save resources. And the amount of time we get a major project from, we talked about letting, PS&E, all the way to environmental development, environmental documentation, and finally construction and maintenance and operations. We're trying to shorten that time because right now it's taking us too long to get projects out on the road, open to traffic as soon as possible. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what we can do. Actually, we're working on a Pell statewide guidance, a reference guide through the Texas Transportation Institute and TxDOT. We're spending about $450,000 on the document. We should have it ready in about a year. And in that document, we're going to show you how the process works structurally, get a project from A to Z and to finally get it implemented, open to traffic. It's a collaborative process, and we're going to document that in our reference guide. And in that reference guide, we're going to also have workshops. We're going to
Can I
pilot.
interrupt and just ask you,
Go ahead.
your assistance is more on the state level, correct? I mean, it doesn't get down to our level, to the...
No, it does. I mean, we're federal. I'm with the Federal Highway Administration, so.
Okay, so where would we interact, where do we meet
With the
locals and with you?
with the MPO planning products that you're currently working on, like your long-range plan, your corridor studies that you're working on that we're funding with our PL funds, the federal PL planning funds, we can take those studies, those results of those studies, and use them more quickly into the environmental process.
Okay.
And taking those products, based on the latest planning assumptions, based on the latest modeling and data and traffic counts and speeds and saturation counts and so forth, we can take that data and plug it into the environmental impact statement or the environmental assessment that goes into the project.
And that generates a quicker result or
Instead of having to do it-
Mondays, or what is that?
Instead of having to do it twice, like do it once in the Metropolitan planning process and once doing it in the NEPA process, doing it double duty, just doing it once and integrating the two at the same time, marrying the two, if you will.
It'll save money.
It saves money,
and
it saves
and
resources,
time, yeah.
it saves some of the contract, the consultant fees and things like that, because you don't need to pay them twice.
Okay.
You use it once, you use it again, and you use it once and use it often in the planning process. So it's a collaborative decision-making process. We're gonna have workshops, we're gonna do some peer exchanges. We've got December 9th, we're gonna do a workshop half-day in Austin, and you guys are gonna be more than welcome to attend. It's free of charge, it's about a half-day. We're gonna bring in the folks from headquarters, we're gonna bring in the consultants working on the reference guide and TTI. We're gonna make a 4-hour workshop and really get into the details of how this is done at the MPO level, at the state level, working together to marry the processes like I mentioned before, and getting a process that will work best for the state of Texas is what we're after, because we're gonna save money, we're gonna save time, we're gonna save resources. And basically that's the goal, is early collaboration, communication, coordination with all the agencies working together from the beginning to the end.
How long will it take, once you?
Well, instead of taking 2 years or 3 years to get a project out the door, we're talking about 18 to 24.
Okay, but-
Reducing it to a year and a half
But
to 24.
But this immediate process that you're talking about, it'll get us to that first day when, about a year from now, or?
Well, the first, the workshops and the reference guide, we're talking about putting those out by 2023.
Okay.
So by 2023, we should be out there doing workshops, training, and getting this message out across the country.
So by 2025, we should be utilizing some of this?
Yeah, all these things you're talking about, 26, 25, these years that you're talking about in the future, we're gonna meet those goals that you intended to meet today by your policy board actions that you're talking about. So what we're trying to do is just sell the program, sell Pell, and basically, if I've done a good enough job to pique your interest, I hope you can come to the training that we're going to be offering free of charge. This can be in conjunction with the TxDOT and TTI and Federal Highways, and we're going to do the best we can to get that message across the state. There's other MPOs are using it now. It's Houston, Galveston area council using it. El Paso MPO are using this process. San Antonio has used this process. Dallas, Fort Worth is using this process. So we're just trying to spread the word that it's working in this state, and we're trying to get to all parts of the state.
Wonderful.
Get the message out.
What is the information on the training again? What day?
The training is going to be on December 9th at
December
TxDOT.
9th?
December 9th at TxDOT. It's going to run from like 9:30, 10 to about 3 at the new Stasny office. They have a new TxDOT headquarters office in Austin. Brand new building, beautiful.
You're
building.
asking our technical people, who in particular, I guess?
MPO staff
Yeah,
primarily.
staff. Okay.
Yeah, they can bring back the message that they learned with perhaps a copy of the draft reference guide, and bring that and share that with you when they come back in December. for your next
Can we put that as an agenda item? Do we need to have an agenda item for you all to go, or is that something that you
No,
all
because it's
decide to?
in-state travel, we can do that, and it's programmed in our EPWP with the travel funds, we should be able to attend.
Are you all planning on going?
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to be there. I'll take you to lunch even.
yeah, and we invited Mr. Fulber to give this presentation, because we noticed there's definitely opportunities to accelerate projects. And for example, there's always that environmental requirement when you're using federal funds. So I think this is a good approach where we can align our studies, to make sure we're doing some of that environmental work up front and have, be able to accelerate
credit.
project delivery.
Yeah. Credit for it and use it once, use it often, and get it done quicker. And that's basically what we're talking about.
Wonderful, thank you. Currently, we have a project, I think, an environmental project there at the expansion of the World Trade Bridge.
Oh, yeah, we are working on the World Trade Bridge expansion project. It's on the fast track, and I'm on that committee looking at the NEPA process, making sure everything's in the plan and tip, and we've made sure that happened, and
Okay.
we're on track. We're going to get that bridge built.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Just hearing that last sentence made my day here.
I'm just trying to lighten things up a little bit. And, yeah, 'cause it's kind of
Well, you did.
a tough environment today. It's like, I feel like,
No, you got a
like I
few
need
more
a
Oh, it's
slides.
like this all the time.
I know you got a few more slides. I don't know, you wanted to share a few more.
No, I think about done. I appreciate your time, Mayor, and if y'all have any questions, feel free, I'll stay late if you want me to, and
Wonderful. Would you repeat the last sentence so this gentleman can hear it?
I forgot what I said.
World Trade Bridge. You were asking me
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah, I'm on the World Trade Bridge Committee, working on that project.
Federal
We're
Highway.
fast tracking it. We're gonna open it up for construction in 2024.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
They should be ready by
2023, the
then.
environmental process will start, and then 2024, we're gonna get
That's
we got the
very-
presidential permit for it already, and yes, sir, we're ready to rock and roll.
The expansion?
Yeah, for the World Trade
Well,
Bridge.
we submitted the permit, but has it been approved?
Permit has come back, and I believe it's been approved, but I need to check
Wow.
on that. But
Okay.
what we're doing.
Rolling clap, rolling clap, rolling clap.
Yeah, we're fast tracking that project, and we've got the money set aside for it. We've got $1 million set aside here, and we've got some
Right.
additional
Stick
funding
around, I
coming
have
in.
some stuff I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I didn't bring my checkbook. No, I can help you where I can.
Thank you very much.
You ever heard by a CEO?
Okay. Yes, sir, thank you. Presentation by TxDOT on the status of the ongoing projects.
Mayor, today's presentation will be presented by our local Laredo area engineer, Mr. Jose Vargas.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Jose Vargas, the Laredo engineer.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So currently, our area office is handling $308 million, most of it in Webb County. So this is the status of the ongoing projects. Starting with the IH-35 project, it's currently approximately 55% progress. We're working on the main lane, which is going to be the I-35.
Yeah, let me ask you, when you say 308, I've heard over a million, or close to a million, so 308 currently for this year?
Currently in construction, active.
Yeah, active.
Construction projects,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Active, but I'd heard larger numbers active as well, except for just.
Today,
This is my area,
yeah,
yes.
to date, Mayor, there's $500 million worth of active construction dollars
500 million.
within the Laredo district, which encompasses the 8 counties. A large portion of that 300+ million is in Webb County itself.
Yes,
Okay, but, yeah, I'd heard that the budget for this year was 1.something billion, huh?
So what you're looking at is the 10-year UTP down the road, future plans. Those are plans with construction dollars allocated to them. That's currently at $1.7 billion. But this is the actual constructions.
For next
So as
year-
we start letting those projects, those numbers will also go up.
Okay.
As we finish projects, some will go out and some will be added.
Okay, that explains it, thank you.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
this is construction projects.
Take over the minutes.
Like I said, we are working on the northbound main lane over the railroad track. And completion date for this project is summer of 2024 with an investment of $115 million. Close to that area, we have the I-69 widening. We are wrapping up this project. We expected to accept this project towards the end of fall. We're about 95% completion, and this is adding an extra lane on I-69 out of the International Bridge and adding a ramp to relieve some of the traffic out of the connectors to the frontage road. We have the US 83 projects. Total investment for these two projects, it's about $117 million. We are 90% on the project just north of the checkpoint, and we're about 50% on the project from I-35 south of the checkpoint on US 83. This is the widening of 1472. This is from Fasken to Killam. We're currently 50% complete. As we move forward this month, you're gonna start seeing a lot more of concrete pavement. So this project is starting to take shape, and expected completion date is also towards the end of the fall of this year. We have Los Presidentes connection on South Laredo. That is 90% complete. We're also wrapping up that project towards the end of fall. We're adding 3 passing lanes on 359 We're about 35% on that project. The investment for those passing lanes is about $5.2 million. Completion date estimated spring of 2023. Out of our safety program, we are upgrading rails on IH-35. It's a $2.5 million investment, completion date also towards the end of the year. These are projects that are gonna start this month, 2 overlay projects, different locations throughout Laredo, mainly on IH-35, and we also have some areas inside the city, which is US 59 from I-35 to Buena Vista, and Clark from Loop 20 to Arkansas within city limits. And again, most of this project is on IH-35, and we also have a location on 1472 from Pan American, more or less 4 miles south of 255 where the golf course is. This will wrap up the
Thank you. Any
status.
questions from anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is a status report by the RMA, with the exception of a few things. RMA.
Thank
Brown,
you.
welcome.
Jed Brown, Chair of the RMA. In your packet is an update, project by project. Things are moving along. You can see we've got 9 active projects. I won't go over these unless you have a specific question, because y'all have heard enough from me. The only thing I will tell y'all that goes to your initial comment at the start of the meeting about the Mines Road. When I leave here, I'm following the city's planning director to the planning department so we can have a meeting to talk about the River Road Corridor Study project. We need to make sure that that's moving along and share information. So I know we'll have a good meeting there, and maybe we'll be able to talk about that at the next meeting. But we're moving that along.
Wonderful, thank you for all you do, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the director's comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before comments that I have in my director's report, I just wanted to mention, I want to congratulate our partners at Metro for the grant that they received for the low or no emission grant. I know we were at the press conference yesterday, so we want to congratulate them for that. I know they're going to be able to.
14 million?
7 point,
Yeah, a little over $7 million.
yeah, 7.1.
So there's, we'll probably have to modify our tip also for the transit projects to add that, but we did want to congratulate them for that. Also, there's a request from TxDOT, Austin Wright, for us to do an administrative modification to the 2023-26 tip that will require to incorporate a revised self-certification statement that's in your packet. After the meeting, I'll ask the mayor and Mr. Salazar to sign that. And this is it's just an updated self-certification reflecting the new language from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Also, the draft guidelines for the MPO 2022 Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Call for Projects has been reviewed by the Active Transportation Committee, Technical Committee. They gave us some feedback, and we're ready to submit that to FHWA for their review. We're planning to come back in September with an action item to authorize the call for projects. And our next meetings are the Active Transportation Committee on August 31st, technical meeting September 13th, and our policy committee will be September 21st here, and we'll bring back those action items that are requested.
Great,
Thank
thank
you
you.
all. They want to thank Mr. Falver from FHWA, took the time to come down from Austin to be with us today. Also from TxDOT for the presentation, and RMA for the status report. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Do we have any other business?
Motion
And
to
if not,
adjourn.
there's a motion to adjourn, seconded by Gonzalez. Discussion, none heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None seen, none heard, motion carries unanimously. This meeting is adjourned at 3:03 PM. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.